Hello to all who've come. My name is Emily Bonavitacola. I'm the Senior Development Associate at Heritage Conservancy. I'll be hosting this session. And before I introduce our presentation or presenters, I just want to give some information really quick about Heritage Conservancy, who we are. We are a land trust based in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and we have a three-pronged mission. Our first is land preservation and conservation, which means we work with private landowners, townships, and municipalities to preserve landscapes around Bucks, Montgomery, and Northampton counties. We've been around for 70 years, and in that time period, we have helped facilitate the preservation of 17,000 acres. We also are unique in that we work in the facilitation and preservation of historic structures. Our Register of Historic Places has about 700 entries, and we offer resources and assistance to owners of historic structures in this region. And the reason we're here today, and last but certainly not least, is we're committed to connecting with the surrounding communities through environmental education. We partner with local schools and offer environmental science programs, which include outdoor classrooms, nature hikes, watershed education, and after-school programs. A big piece of what helps fuel that mission is our EITC contributions, and Heritage Conservancy is confirmed as an education improvement organization, which can accept those funds. So with recent shifts in public funding, we have kind of started this conversation of making sure that we have more awareness spread around EITC. And we're fortunate enough to partner with Cindy Bergvall at Bergvall Co, who's done numerous presentations on this topic for businesses who are interested in supporting through the Educational Improvement Tax Credit. Following Cindy, we will have a brief presentation from Heritage Conservancy Senior Community Engagement Associate, Caitlin Brindisi, to discuss the growth of the community education program as a direct result of EITC support. Before I want to introduce Cindy, I again want to reiterate some housekeeping items. Again, this webinar is being recorded, and if you have not done so already, please make sure you turn off your cameras and mute during the session. There will be time for questions following the presentation, but if there are any pressing questions you would like to have, just make sure that you put them in the chat box and we can get to them at the end of the session. But I do want to let you guys know there will be time for questions following the presentations. And with that, I will hand it over to Cindy to get us started.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you all for coming to this presentation today. So overall, big picture, the Education Improvement Tax Credit is all about keeping your Pennsylvania tax dollars in the community and you having a direct say in what happens with your tax dollars. This is specific to Pennsylvania. I also want to give a caveat. While I am with a CPA firm, this is not necessarily tax advice. Prior for applying for the credit, you will want to discuss this with your own tax accountant. So today we'll be talking about what is the credit, how would you figure out the potential tax savings to your business, and then also what type of contribution would benefit Heritage. Is this applicable? Is this something that you can even take advantage of? We'll look at some at the granular level, the process from application to contribution to taking the credit on your return, and what does that look like? And as Katie mentioned, Heritage will talk about how they've been able to use this credit in the past to advance the mission of Heritage. So let's jump right in. So as far as the educational tax credit, or the EITC, businesses can donate to an eligible nonprofit and receive a credit against their Pennsylvania taxes, and that lets them multiply their impact. And we will walk through an example of that. So this lets the donations be multiplied. So instead of, if you give 20,000 to Heritage, in some, your net cost could be 5,000. So for a net cost of 5,000 to you, Heritage could benefit for $20,000. As far as the process, you as the business will apply, usually in May, or July, depending on a couple of things. I'll let you know what those are. The state approves your application. A business is typically notified August or September, sometimes as late as in October, usually by September. And then from the time of notification, you have about 60 days to make the contribution. Send proof of the contribution back to the state. Then when you go to file either your corporate tax return or your individual return, if you have a S corporation, that's when you'll take that credit. So let's see what that looks like. You need, as a business, you do need to apply. You can't just take this, you can't just send in the contribution and then fill out something later on. It has to be applied for ahead of time. You as a business need to owe Pennsylvania tax. So depending on the nature of your business, some businesses like manufacturing or banking, capital intensive businesses will tend to keep the profit in the business. So at the end of the year, they do owe Pennsylvania tax. Other businesses, though, traditionally, say a professional services company, might distribute all of the business profits to the owner. So the business itself might have very little profit, and you might not pay Pennsylvania tax. So if you don't pay Pennsylvania tax, or if it's a year when the business has a loss, if your business does not pay tax, you cannot take the credit. The credit has to be taken in the current year. So if your tax ends up being less than you thought, but you applied for a larger credit, you can't carry over that to the first year. Excuse me. If you make a 1-year commitment, your credit equals 75% of the contribution to say Heritage. If you make a 2-year commitment, you say for the next 2 years, I pledge to give Heritage $20,000 each year, your credit is 90% of that $20,000. Interestingly, your donation can be in cash, where you actually write a check for donation. You can donate services. So if you have, like, let's say you're an architect and you do something for that, or legal services that you might donate to Heritage, the fair market value of those services can count as that donation, or for goods, products. As far as how do you calculate the benefit, I've been using this example of $20,000. So let's say you normally donate $20,000 to Heritage. Annually each year, you typically, you estimate that your tax liability be $25,000. So you join this program, you elect to donate the $20,000. Let's say you take the 1-year option. So you're going to get a credit of 75% of that amount of the contribution. So your credit's going to be $15,000. So instead of paying $25,000 in taxes, you'll actually pay $10,000. So what does that look like? Visually, you'll see in the left-hand column, before EITC, you contribute money to Heritage, your tax is $25,000. Your out-of-pocket for tax and contribution is $45,000. If you use the program, contribute 20, you get the $15,000 credit. So your out-of-pocket is 10 for your taxes. So your net cost is $30,000. Let's look at that with the 90% example. So you commit for the next 2 years for your, let's say 25, 26. I'm going to contribute $20,000 in 25. I'm going to contribute $20,000 in 26. 90%. Here's what that looks like. So now your credit, 90% of $20,000 is $18,000. 25,000 minus 18,000, your net tax is $7,000. And so that comes to $27,000. The other thing that's interesting, important to remember, so you contribute the $20,000, 18,000 of it goes to a credit. That remaining 2,000 can still be a credit on your corporate tax return as a donation. So you kind of get, not corporate, your corporate tax return as a contribution donation. So your net effect, you, instead of paying all of your taxes to Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania distributes it how they see fit, you are saying, I want my taxes to go to Heritage, and you are having the impact with Heritage, but your out-of-pocket is less. In some cases, people will do this and they'll say, oh, and like I normally do, because I'm going to reduce my taxes, now I can actually donate, say $40,000, because the net effect to me, I'll still be out of pocket the same amount between the tax and the contribution, but I'm going to be able to actually give more to an organization I'm already contributing to, but my net out of pocket will put more money in the organization's pocket, less money to the state. So is it applicable to you, to your business? It actually does apply to personal income taxes. So that would be if you had an S corp is the way it would work for your personal income tax. For your corporate tax, it'll apply to your capital stock or foreign franchise. Corporate net income tax. So your Pennsylvania, this is basically your Pennsylvania C corporations. If you're part of a bank, if you're part of an insurance company, mutual thrifts, malt beverages, and surplus lines are the last two categories are pretty obscure, but if you happen to be online and then that's one of your categories, let me know. It does include S corporations. So if you're a Pennsylvania S corporation, meaning that the profits from your business are taxed at your personal level, that credit will pass through to your personal tax return. There is another situation where, so I've been talking all about business. There's a situation where there are entities that have been set up. So let's say you don't have a business at all, or you have a business, but your business does not typically pay Pennsylvania state tax. There are special purpose pass-through entities. So this is this is a business, a limited partnership that was set up specifically for this purpose. You join this partnership and pay your contribution. So your 20,000 goes to this partnership, this contribution. The partnership then issues its shareholders or its members the credit, and then you can take it on your individual return. So this is a little different. My only caution, or the only important distinction with this one, these special purpose pass-through entities tend to be for scholarship organizations. Katie and I were emailing about this earlier this week. It's an option that's out there. So perhaps you're listening to this thinking, oh, I really wish I could donate to Heritage, but I don't pay Pennsylvania corporate tax. If you wanted it to go to a scholarship organization, this would be typically for a private school. You could do it. You could go through this special purpose pass-through entity. This is not the main focus of the presentation, but I didn't want to miss out on mentioning it in the event that this idea of directing your tax dollars is still compelling to you. But to our knowledge, we haven't found a special purpose pass-through entity that benefits what I would call a non-scholarship organization. It doesn't include a sole proprietorship. So if you have a business, but it all gets on your tax return, that's going to be on a Schedule C, that would not be included in that. All right. The thing that is a challenge is the timing of this. So the Pennsylvania budget has a certain pool of money for this credit. That pool of money, the credit opens. If you've been in this program before, you can apply May 15th. If this is your first time, you need to apply later. The applications go in through a lottery process. Typically, if you've already been part of the program, you are usually approved. If you are new to the program, it is not always easy to get approved. I can't promise you that you'll get approved. So it sounds great, super exciting. You're ready to do it. You apply. The state may have ran out of money by the time the applications are filed. You can submit multiple applications. Let me back up. So you're going to file the applications at dcedpa.gov. I have some screenshots later on the presentation that we'll look at. If you want to support different types of organizations, you can put in multiple applications. If you happen to be, a bank or an insurance company, your combined total of credits, your contributions can't go over 750,000. This is interesting though, because if you can check off this alternative credit box when you apply. So let's say you want to donate to Heritage. This is your first time around, but you're concerned that you won't make the lottery. but you still want to participate in the overall program, you can say, okay, I'm going to try for Heritage, but if I don't make the lottery, this educational improvement organization bucket, then please consider me for this opportunity scholarship tax credit. The reason that's important is because that's two different budgets. So in the state budget, this educational improvement organization budget is one pool of money. That's the pool that runs out. This opportunity scholarship tax credit, that pool of money very rarely runs out. So that gives you what we call it, another bite of the apple, another option if you still want to redirect your tax dollars. Katie, I just want to check in. Are there any questions where it would be beneficial to pause now and answer any questions?
No questions in the chat. If anyone did have any specific questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but as of right now, no.
Okay, good. All right. Because the first time around this can sound a little bit confusing. We do have a handout available to you also that we can get to you as well. And I have some links to other instructions. So what are the nitty-gritty steps? There's the website. If you're a new business, you cannot apply until July 1st. And when I say apply on July 1st, I mean right on July 1st. Don't wait till July 2nd. Don't wait till July 3rd. The funds typically, this whole lottery process will usually run out sometime during July 1st. It used to be first come, first serve like 10 years ago. So people would be on, midnight, almost like getting Penn State football tickets or something. It's not that type of thing anymore. It's just apply on July 1st. You're in the lottery. Same thing. If you're a renewing business, you're going to apply on May 15th. As you can see, May 15th, 6 weeks earlier, it's typically a renewing business is going to be able to get in, especially with the 2-year commitment. They do say, the state doesn't guarantee the credits will be available for a year or two, but you do want to submit that also on May 15th and not May 16th, May 17th. Get it in there as soon as possible. Usually you'll be notified by September if you've been approved, and within 60 days of approval, you need to make the contribution. When you submit your application, you are putting in the dollar amount that you think you will be submitting for a credit. So it can be a bit challenging. Most businesses are December 31st year end. So you're deciding May 15th what you think your tax liability might be, and that's not always evident. You can back out. So let's say you get approved in September and you realize things didn't go the way expected. You're not going to have the same level of tax that you thought you did. You can withdraw your application and not move forward. But let's say you get notified September 1st, then within 60 days, you need to make the contribution to Heritage. They will send you a proof of contribution, that they'll send you a written acknowledgement, and then you forward that written acknowledgement to the DCED. And so the state has the acknowledgement, you made the contribution, and then when you go to file your return, you're going to take the credit. So what does the actual application look like? If you go to the website that was referenced there, you'll see this, this is a snip from the website. You're going to hit this apply button. This screen is going to come up. You're going to set up a Keystone user account. There's a registration form that they walk through with this. And then there are help documents. So there's help documents here, there's help documents there. And the documents are, it looks like this. So this is one page from, I think it's a 12-page booklet. So there is in that help document, there is a page for every single screen. So you can go through, I just had 1 or 2 snips from the booklet, but you could look at that booklet right now, even though you wouldn't be going on right now to fill out the application because you can't do it either until May 15th or July 1st, but it's there. You'll walk through the application. I will caution you, the application covers a wide variety of things. So there'll be some pages that you would look at where the things that are mentioned on the page have nothing to do with what you're doing, but you'll make your way to this page. And this is where you click either educational improvement, EITC. EITC is what you would click for Heritage. And then this would be the scholarship. This is where you would fill in what type of entity you are, whether you're a C Corp, S Corp, that sort of thing. So now you're ready, you filed it, you're going to take the credit. If you're C corporation, it's not too complicated. There's a spot on the corporate tax return, you would take the credit. Most likely, if you're a corporation, you have an accountant that's completing your returns, so they will know what to do. However, if you're an S corporation, it's a little bit more involved. There is a pass-through form that you will complete to elect to pass this credit through. Any elections need to be made before the due date of the entity's return, so before the due date of your corporate return. So for some reason, if you have, a different year end and a 12/31 year end. Well, if you have a 12/31 year end and you're an S corp, the due date for the S corp is March 15th. So you're going to want to file this election form prior to March 15th, which is before your personal due date. That's the department will get back and say that's been accepted, and then there's a schedule there. So if you do if not, your accountant's gonna know that. Just a reminder, the credit cannot be carried over to another year. It can't be sold or transferred like other tax credits. It can only be used by the entity that has earned it. Earlier, I talked a little bit about the special purpose entities. I do want to make the distinction. This would not benefit Heritage Conservancy. But if you realize that for whatever reason, your situation, you wouldn't be able to do it that way, this is an option for you. This is for students living, when we talk about a scholarship credit in the private schools, this is not a private school in a nice area. It's usually for students living in underperforming school districts to go to this private school. There are the organizations that will facilitate this. If you need more information, there's examples, for example, the Children's Scholarship Fund of Philadelphia, the Central Pennsylvania Fund. And then in this case, you become part of this LLC, this business. And this is open to any individual, whether they are a business owner or not. So perhaps you're here as a business owner, but if you have friends and neighbors that might find this interesting, you can spread the word. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing on my end, and Heritage will share with you some things that they've used the credit for.
Okay. Kaylin is going to get started on, she'll share her screen and start her presentation about our educational programs and the impact that EITC support has on that initiative. So with that, I will let Kaylin take over.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Cindy. All right. All right, can everyone see my presentation?
I can.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. All right, so thank you. My name is Kaylin, and I am the Senior Education Programs Associate here at Heritage Conservancy. So today I'm going to talk about all of the wonderful ways and impacts that the Education Improvement Tax Credit supports our education programs. So just as a quick overview, Heritage Conservancy is a mission-based nonprofit that aims to protect and care for the lands of our region, to engage with and share the history of these lands, and to connect people with both. So like Emily said, since 1958, we have facilitated the preservation of over 16,000 acres of land throughout Bucks County and the surrounding area, and many historic structures as well. And in order to connect people with our mission, we host a variety of educational programs for schools across Bucks County, as well as to the public. So you might be wondering why we are doing education programs as a land trust. And the reason why we do them is because our land preservation goals are in perpetuity. So we want to preserve land forever. And in order to reach that goal, we need to be continually educating and inspiring the next generation of environmental leaders. So when students can come to know nature by spending time in it and learning about it, the doors are then opened for that student to make decisions as they come into adulthood to help us keep this promise of helping to protect our land. So we offer a wide variety of programs, not only on our preserves, but also outside on school grounds or even in the classroom, to overcome various barriers of access, such as busing that can be really hard for, some schools to get out. So in order to keep everything accessible, we like to bring the nature to students. We like to teach that nature is all around us in our communities, and we can teach about it anywhere. Our programs also always support what students are already learning in the classroom. So they fit in directly with the new science standards called STEELS. So STEELS are brand new, so a lot of teachers are just now having to kind of adjust their curriculum to fit in some of these topics in different ways. So the STEELS curriculum stands for Science, Technology and Engineering, Environmental Literacy, and Sustainability. So this is the first time in history that environmental literacy and sustainability are really explicitly in the PA science standards. So our programs really help to support teachers by providing hands-on experiential learning so that students can become problem solvers for environmental issues in their communities. And the framework that we use for all of our programs is called Learning Beyond the Classroom. So here on the right, I actually have a little photo of one of our Learning Beyond the Classroom handouts. So we really want to connect with students beyond just the one, field trip or couple field trips that we have with them. So we love to send information home so that students can reference, parents can be informed about what we're teaching their children, what activities we did. We like to keep people up to date on different, other events that we have going on. So this is just a really great way to kind of bridge from the school into the home. So we offer a very wide variety of programs that are covered by EITC. So some of the topics can include local habitats and ecosystems, local wildlife, watersheds and water quality, and taking environmental action. So all of these topics are then connected to the importance of land preservation. So over the next few slides, I'm going to go over a few of our most popular programs. But if there's any questions at the end about anything, any of these programs on this list that I'm not going to dive into, please let us know. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is our Social Emotional Learning in Nature program. So, our SEL program uses nature as a tool to teach critical SEL skills such as managing emotions and stress, self awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So, all of those skills that teachers are already really trying to teach students in their everyday lessons are then tied into nature and environmental science lessons. So, for many students, our SEL program is actually one of the first entry points into nature. Some of our students live in more urban areas, so there's not a lot of nature around them, um, like at Keystone Elementary School. So, this program can be really helpful for helping to build students' confidence and comfortability in an outdoor setting that might be unfamiliar. So, when students can gain that comfortability, they become more receptive to outdoor education lessons as they get older. And this program was specifically sparked due to feedback that we received from school administrators pre COVID, with reports that students were feeling a high level of stress and anxiety. So, one of the goals of this program is to help encourage students to use nature as a tool to rest, relax, find a moment of peace. We teach that, protecting the environment helps us in that way as well. And we have individual SEL program sessions where students can participate in like a nature walk with us or a hike. But we also incorporate the SEL science lessons into our after school programs too. So this year, we were able to expand this program and provide nature clubs to 3 elementary schools and 2 middle schools in the Bristol Township School District. So this benefited 94 students total, and this program specifically would not have been possible without EITC funding. So the next one I'm going to talk about is actually one of my personal favorites. It is called our Watershed Connections program. And this program connects students across the Delaware River watershed to learn about water quality and how we can keep our water clean. So during this program, we emphasize that we are connected to other people through our water, and that what we do on our land can affect people downstream from us. So students are going to be learning about what a watershed is, the water cycle, and they're going to test water from a local source and then come up with a presentation to report on that to another group of students. So this is a really awesome program because then it has the students that are able to meet each other and collaboratively come up with some ways that they can help protect their watershed through everyday actions. And we have done this program in a variety of ways, from in-person field trips to being completely virtual. So it's really great to making it accessible for teachers that might not be able to participate in a full field trip. And all the activities that are in this program are really student-led. Our Wonders of Fall program. So this is a program that we've done at a variety of schools across the county, but this year we were able to expand on it specifically within the Bristol Township School District. So our Wonders of Fall program teaches second grade students about various curriculum-aligned fall-related topics such as seasonal changes, bird migration, and why protecting habitat like Croydon is important for migrating birds. So this year it was really exciting. We had 600 second grade students come out to Croydon Woods, and for many of them, it was their very first time visiting. So these are students that might not have previously known that Croydon Woods really existed. Um, you know, the, so they're really excited to be able to discover this new natural place in their community that they can get to, on the weekend and then bring their family. So it was really exciting to be able to connect a lot of new students and families to Croydon Woods. This is a program that I'm actually later today going to be kicking off, so very excited to do that. So this is one of our newer programs. It is our Fuller Purcell Preserve field trip with Tinicum Elementary School. So we started this program last year. It was the first time that we'd ever had an official field trip to the Fuller Preserve. And we had 35 fourth and fifth grade students participate in this program where we explored the creek and meadow habitats at the preserve. So this year we're going to do the program again with the fourth and fifth grade, but since the fifth graders this year experienced it last year's fourth graders, we're actually going to be adding in different activities and going deeper with the curriculum to include some water quality testing for them to expand on what they already learned. And this is a really awesome opportunity for students to connect even deeper with a preserve that many of them visit regularly with their families anyway. So this is just a really awesome program that it's very exciting that we are able to do it. So our impact. So over the last few years, we have seen a lot of growth and success with our education programs that are funded by EITC, which is really exciting. So last year, 72 of our program days were funded by EITC. Um, which provided programming for 2,400 students. And 116 of those students actually participated in more than one program with us. And these repeat programs are really awesome experience to provide students the opportunity to build upon their skills every time that they're meeting with us. To strengthen their knowledge and to strengthen their comfort and connection to nature. So student perspective. So I can talk all day about why our programs are so awesome, but I really wanted to share some things that students have said. So as I go about the programs, I'm constantly listening to students and asking for feedback. So this one first quote, I never thought I would have so much fun with leaves. I just thought that just made me smile. I think when students can have fun while they're learning, they learn so much more. So the fact that all of our programs are centered around hands-on experiences out of the classroom, a lot of the time, or bringing nature into the classroom, it makes learning a lot of fun. Um, my favorite part of the activity was seeing everyone else's projects. I want to check on the water quality in a few years to see if it got better or worse. So this was a quote from a fifth grade student in our Watershed Connections program last year. And it was really exciting to hear this because the goal is always to spark students' interest to keep learning beyond our program. So the fact that the student had expressed interest in, continuing to kind of learn and be curious about these things was really great. And this one was from this past fall. Nature Club inspires me to learn about nature and spend more time outside. This is again always the goal is to really just inspire students to become environmental leaders, to inspire them to care about the lands that make up their community and to give them a voice. So being able to connect with students on these programs and just kind of watch them grow in their comfort being outside, ask questions is really very inspiring. And so we've been doing these programs now since about 2018, was our very first set of field trips to Croydon Woods with Keystone Elementary. And I've been in this position now for 4 years in June. So while I didn't directly work with the first, cohort of students that came through our programs, this past winter, I was at Truman High School. And something that I always like to do to kick off a program is just connect what we're learning to our nearest preserve. So, I had asked the students, has anyone ever been to Croydon Woods? And I had a student raise their hand and share that, yeah, I think I went to Croydon Woods when I was, in about fourth grade. We did some backwards math to determine that this student was one of our very first students that had come through our programs. So it was just really great to see them down the line taking an environmental science elective. I mean, I can't say for certain that our program really sparked that, but it really makes, me think about how important this work is, getting kids outside, getting them exploring nature. So that way, as they get older, they continue to learn and care about these things. So it was just very exciting to meet one of our very first field trip goers to Croydon Woods. All right. Thank you very much for listening to me talk about these programs. If anyone has any questions about anything that I, talked about today, or if you have any questions about other programs, I would be very happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Kaylin. And thank you, Cindy. I want to once again thank everyone for your interest in supporting Heritage Conservancy and ensuring that the land we preserve today and the environmental advocacy that we inspire in young children is here for generations to come. I'd also like to send a special thank you to Kaylin and Cindy for their time. As noted, we did record this session, so we will be happy to share it with you and anyone else you feel might be interested in learning more about EITC and supporting our initiatives. And please be sure to reach out to us directly if you have any questions or would like more information. With that, I'm going to end the session, and I want to thank everyone again for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.